BYU takes down Utah 85-74. Mitch Harper with Steve Bartle here, KSLSports.com. It was kind of a sloppy night. It really wasn't a thing of beauty to watch. A lot of fouls, tons of fouls in this game. But BYU pulls away in the second half. 8th consecutive win. Both teams now gear up for Kansas City in the Big 12 tournament. Your thoughts on the Utah side, some takeaways coming away from this game for Utah, closing out the season at now 8-12.
Yeah, same issues as it's been all season, just turnovers. 17 turnovers tonight, 21 points off of turnovers for BYU. And it really came at costly moments for Utah where it led to scoring droughts, which sparked, especially in that second half, just a big run about midway through the half, allowed BYU to kind of build a pretty comfortable lead, due in large part to the turnovers.
Yeah, BYU got downhill too with Richie Saunders, particularly in the second half. He kind of started off slow in the first half, only 3 points, but then really started to be that efficient player that we've seen all season. I think Richie Saunders should be a lock to be first team all Big 12. I know tonight he only had, and I say only for Richie, he's been kind of a consistent 20-point guy, but 14 points, 5 of 10 from the field, 5 rebounds. I thought he had a really solid night. Utah hung around in this game. BYU started 0 of 13 from 3, and Utah was around hanging on, but to your point, the turnovers really sunk the Utes.
Yeah, I thought defensively Utah had a pretty good game plan, which you saw in that first half, just contesting everything. They used their size to their advantage. I think obviously Utah, that's their strength as a team, is their size, their length. They contested really well. They cleaned the glass really well in that first half. Fortunately, some adjustments in the second half, and the turnovers, combined with the turnovers, allowed BYU to get into a rhythm. They created some open looks. Denham got downhill a couple times and created, a couple scoring opportunities in the corner. I know Mwat Mag had an open one. So, they made some adjustments in the second half that Utah wasn't able to counter offensively or defensively, and that was a big difference.
Big difference, I thought, in this game too was points in the paint. Utah last time had, I think, 38 points. Yeah. BYU still had like 40 in that game in January. Different circumstance, different teams now, but BYU plus 18 in points in the paint. It's kind of a pick your poison spot right now, as Kevin Young has noted with BYU. Teams are going to defend that three heavily, but they've got the forces in the paint to be able to attack teams. Now they both shift gears to Kansas City. Utah's going to play UCF. BYU is going to be in the quarterfinals on that Thursday against either Iowa State, Oklahoma State, or Cincinnati. Any chance you think Utah makes a run potentially at all in Kansas City against UCF starting off?
Yeah, I think there's a decent chance.
As we have Utah guys spelling out Richie for Prez shirts, walking passes, but continue.
Yeah, I think Utah's got a chance to go on a run. They took UCF down to the wire in Orlando. And what was interesting was, Josh Eilert talked tonight about, his absence. He was sick, he was at home, and he had the scout in the game plan for that game, and he wasn't present to help execute it. And so that's
it was the last game for Craig Smith.
And it was the last game for Craig Smith. And so, I think Utah, they've shown a lot of resilience throughout this whole process. It hasn't been pretty. They've lost twice. Obviously, to Arizona, they got lost 3 times actually with the one tonight. But they've continued to play hard, continue to play for each other, and I think that could lead, to a positive result in the Big 12 tournament. And it's going to be interesting too, with everything else going on around the program, with Alex Jensen being named the head coach. What sort of message does he have for the team as he's away in Dallas to kind of keep the group together and keep them focused on the task at hand?
It's going to be really interesting to see if BYU can make a run in Kansas City. You kind of wonder if there's anything they can actually gain in the bracket side of it. We'll see. But going forward in the future, BYU and Utah matchups are going to be really good. Kevin Young, Alex Jensen.
Yeah.
I think this year was a split. I think you can see a lot more of that, but I think these are going to be some must-see battles in the future between BYU and Utah. It's exciting because I think that having it back in a conference adds a lot more juice to it, and now you got 2 head coaches, decorated resumes. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a battle years to come.
It really is. That was the one thing that I was thinking about coming into this game, is the difference in what Alex Jensen being on that bench, what that's going to do for Utah. Obviously BYU, they've got it figured out with what they're doing coming in to this season with Kevin Young, and they've figured some things out. For Utah, it's going to require a lot of change, not just in terms of what we see on the court, but the atmosphere, the fan support. A lot of that is going to come with Alex Jensen in place, and I'm really excited for what it means for this rivalry in particular, because not only do you have two former NBA assistants, well credentialed in the league with what they've accomplished over the span of their careers, but as you mentioned, being in the Big 12 with the stage that they'll be on in this conference, you look at the history of the Big 12, 11 national titles, 16 runner-ups in the national title game. There's a great tradition and history in the league, and with the Blue Bloods in the league, having Utah and BYU at the forefront in terms of the rivalry games in the conference, I think is huge. And with Alex Jensen, it's only going to get better.
It's a good night for BYU. Going to be see if Utah can recover in Kansas City. BYU and Utah coverage. Check it all out on KSLSports.com and the KSL Sports app.